Hello, before we get into this chapter, just a couple quick things. We are starting to be introduced to many characters almost every chapter, and I know I will probably get some pronunciations wrong. I will try my best to use the wiki to get pronunciations right, but the wiki doesn't have pronunciations for every character, so yeah, if I am getting any of them really wrong, feel free to let me down below. And another thing, we are introduced to the deck of dragons in this chapter. I talk about it a little bit, and it's still one of those things that I'm confused about, but I give my best interpretation of what I believe is happening with it. Also, at the end of the video, after the summary, I go a lot more in depth on different themes and takeaways from the chapter. And I talk about all the different big pieces that have either been introduced or shifted in this chapter. So stick around for that. And yeah, hope you enjoy. Hello, and welcome back to Gardens of the Moon Abridged. We are now on to chapter 2. Chapter 2 is when I first started reading Gardens of the Moon. Chapter 2 was the chapter that got me hooked. It's one of my favorite chapters in the book, and it has some of my favorite art. So I am excited to talk about it. So yeah, let's just get right into it. And yeah, here we go. Chapter 2 opens after something terrible, without explaining what. We're at the city of Pale on Genebacus, 2 years since chapter 1. Tattersall is conscious, but only barely. We'll learn that Tattersall is the commander of the Malaz 2nd Army Wizard Cadre. Sound dominates. Ravens scream, and there's a constant ringing in Tattersall's head. The air tastes burned and wrong, and ash drifts down like snow. The ground beneath her is broken stone and rubble. She knows only 2 things. She survived, and she doesn't yet know why. Tattersall tests her body carefully. Pain exists, but feels distant. Her limbs respond slowly, and magic still clings to her skin, humming faintly. Pale no longer feels like a city. It feels like a collapse. She hears someone speaking. The tone is wrong for the place. It is too cheerful and too animated. It's Hairlock. Recognition comes before understanding. Tattersall focuses on him. He is alive, but his entire lower body is gone. There is no blood, and sorcery holds him together. He seems delighted by this. She registers that something fundamental has shifted in him, but can't dwell on it yet. Her attention turns outward. She looks for Callow. He should be here. He always is. The absence registers before it's understood. Sensations intrude without order. A surge of power, blinding light, being thrown hard across stone. There is no clear sequence, just impressions. She does not yet assemble them into meaning. The truth arrives quietly, not as revelation, but as inevitability. Callop is gone. Understanding why comes later. For now, there is only the hollow space where he should be. Tattersall becomes aware of the sky, or rather, what fills it. Moonspawn looms overhead. Moonspawn is the home to the Tist Andy and their Lord Animander Rake. It is a floating mountain that has been protecting Pale from the Malazans. It is cracked, wounded, and vast beyond comprehension. Its presence is suffocating. She does not see Animander Rake. She does not need to. The sorcery buff Pale feels ancient, impersonal, and indifferent. Not an enemy, but a force of nature. Slowly, the mountain begins to drift away, southward. This is not victory, not retreat, but simply withdrawal. Pale is left beneath an empty sky. The meaning hasn't landed yet. 4 soldiers approach through the devastation. The 4 soldiers are Whiskey Jack, the commander from the prologue, who is now demoted to a sergeant, Quick Ben, Kalam, and Sari, the fisher girl who has now become a pawn for the gods from chapter 1. They move carefully, calmly, like people who've learned how to walk through chaos. They confirm Tattersall is alive, asks if she can stand. They don't explain what happened. They don't need to. Whatever it was, they survived it. In clipped, practical language, Tattersall learns the bridge burners were tunneling beneath Pale for the past 3 years, and the tunnels collapsed. Most of them were buried alive. Their numbers went from 1,400 to 30. High Mage Taishran ordered the bridge burners to stop searching for survivors. The words arrive without ceremony. The skill takes time to register. Tattersall understands this is devastation, but she can't yet fit it into a larger picture. Everything feels disconnected, like fragments of different disasters piled together. Now we jump to a flashback before the battle took place. Without warning, memory intrudes. Tattersall remembers waking up with her lover, Callot, who's a cadre mage. She remembers the planning tent before the assault. This is the first time the chapter pauses to explain anything. It talked about the Tist Andy and Crimson Guard under Caladan Brood and how they have been resisting Malazan forces in the north. Present in the planning tent are Dujek One Arm, the cadre mages, and High Mage Taishran. I will now include a couple pictures of the rank structure as well as the different armies within the Malazan military. If you're listening, a couple ones to keep in mind are High Fist, which is Dujek One Arm's rank, as well as High Mage, which is Taishran's rank, and they're both just a couple levels below the Empress. And as the armies go, the one that you should keep in mind is the second army. It is Dujek One Arm's host. It includes the bridge burners as well as the cadre of mages led by Tattersall, and it was formerly commanded by Whiskey Jack until he was demoted. Taishran takes control immediately. His authority is unquestioned. The plan is aggressive. The Claw kills internal wizards while they strike externally. It is risk-heavy and designed for impact, not safety. Only now does the outline of the assault appear. Moonspawn to be targeted directly, overwhelming sorcery unleashed, and no margin for error. The expectation is total dominance or annihilation, nothing in between. With the planning session in mind, Tattersall begins to assemble the fragments. Once Taishran strikes first, Moonspawn releases the Great Ravens, and the battle begins. The assault was meant to overwhelm. Converging warrens, sorcery stacked upon sorcery, no finesse, just force. The sky over Pale layered with magic, light colliding with shadow, heat shearing against cold, and sound turning into pressure. Moonspawn responds reflexively. Elder magic flaring outward, indiscriminate and devastating. Animander Rake is never clearly seen, but his influence is felt as crushing pressure, impossible darkness, and sorcery without discrimination. Tattersall realizes Rake does not duel. He endures and the world breaks around him. Moonspawn absorbs enormous punishment and survives. During the battle, the Malazan High Mages form a spear point. Other mages include Nightchill, Bellerdan Skullcrusher, who is Nightchill's lover, and Athelomin, which are 7-foot humanoids, and Acheronus. Coordination holds, but only briefly. Then it unravels. Demon summons destabilize. The Elder forces overwhelm mortal control, and precision collapses into survival. Nightchill's death now fits. Her demon turns, and control slips for a heartbeat. And that's enough. Her lover Bellerdan collects his remains. Acheronus' death feels different. He's crushed by ethereal wings of ice. It is instantaneous, clean, and chosen. And Tattersall finally understands Callow's death. He saw the strike and knew it was fatal, and chose her. His shield wasn't meant to stop it, only deflected enough to throw her clear. His death wasn't collateral. It was sacrifice. As she saw him in this moment, his eyes were wide with terror at someone at the plane. And that's when she's realized they've been betrayed. One inconsistency remained. Rake's magic came from above, from Moonspawn. The killing strike did not. It came laterally, from the Malazan lines. Tattersall doesn't yet know what to do with that. But she's beginning to suspect Tayshrin. In retrospect, Moonspawn's retreat makes sense. The Malazan assault was costly and unfocused, and Elder magic was never truly threatened. Rake disengaged when it suited him. Pale was never the target. The Malazans were. The battle scale finally lands. 4 high mages are dead. Nearly an entire bridge-burning company lost. And Pale is doomed. This was not victory. It was survival. Focus snaps back and we're back in the present. Quickben prepares forbidden magic, and Tattersall recognizes it immediately. Soul shifting. Something that is dangerous and final. Hairlock cannot be saved. There is no debate. This is not mercy. It is necessity. Tattersall can only watch. Hairlock's soul is transferred into a wooden puppet. It is intimate, disturbing, and irreversible. Hairlock stirs, alert, curious, and amused. Whatever restraint he once had is gone. Quickben hands it to Tattersall. She understands immediately. This binds her to what comes next. Revenge on Tayshrin. She hesitates, then accepts. No explanation offered. Later, the bridge burners speak quietly. About patterns, about veterans disappearing, and about loyalty becoming dangerous. Bridge burners weren't allowed to leave tunnels despite superiors knowing they would collapse during the siege. The Empire wants them dead. With Moonspawn now gone, Pale falls, and the Mranth forces move in. The Mranth are Genebacchus natives that wear chitinous armor. Fire spread, civilians die, and the consequences finally replace confusion. Tattersall is now alone. We learn she is 219 years old. She is mortal, I believe, but mages are able to prolong their life. In her tent, she is exhausted and crashes down. Guilt follows, then memory. She can't escape any of it. Hairlock, now a marionette, climbs out of the hide cocoon that he had been in. Now we see the deck of dragons, which is something that will reoccur throughout this book. The deck calls to her. She resists, then gives in. From the deck, she draws the Knight of Darkness and Opon, the twin jesters. On Opon's card, a coin spins, and afterward, she still hears it. The sound doesn't fade. Hairlock understands immediately. His delight is unmistakable. He tells Tattersall she's part of this now, whether she wants to be or not. And the chapter ends with little answers, only movement, God stirring, empire shifting, chance entering the game, and Pale burning behind them. Yeah, now some themes and takeaways from the chapter. First one being disorientation as truth, and how understanding arrives only after damage. Erikson makes you experience the battle the way Tattersall does, in fragments, not in a clear timeline. The confusion isn't a gimmick, it's a statement. War doesn't come with narration, and meaning is something you build after the fact, if you survive long enough. It also mirrors the Empire's own fog machine. The people in charge always know more than the people bleeding, and the people bleeding are expected to act anyway. This book is disorienting because the world is disorienting. The next theme is power without precision. Elder magic overwhelms, Imperial magic calculates. Rake and Moonspawn almost feels like weather, vast, indifferent, and doesn't care who it hits. While the Malazan magic is the opposite. It is disciplined, layered, and coordinated like a weapon system. But there's a twist. Precision doesn't mean morality. The Empire can aim its power and still choose targets for political reasons. So you get this ugly contrast. Elder power is terrifying because it's unstoppable. Imperial power is terrifying because it's selective. Next, we have sacrifice versus strategy. Callot's choice versus expendable armies. Callot's death is framed as a human choice inside a machine. He sees what's coming, he chooses Tattersall, and trades his life for hers. That's sacrifice in the old mythic sense. It's personal, direct, and costly. And it collides with the Empire's version of sacrifice. Acceptable losses, assets, and the plan requires it. The bridge burners being buried alive sits right beside Callot's axe. One is personal loyalty, the other is institutional expendability. Callot dies like a person, and the bridge burners die like numbers. Next, the Empire devours its own, veterans and mages alike. This chapter reinforces the paranoia the bridge burners already carry. The old guard is being thinned out, and people with history are inconvenient. It's not just soldiers either. High mages die, cadre mages die, and whole units get written off. And the point isn't the Empire is evil, kind of in a cartoon way. It's worse. The Empire is pragmatic, and pragmatism turns people into fuel. The Empire doesn't just conquer cities, it consumes the people who built it. Next, survival is complicity. Living means accepting the unspoken. Tattersall survives, but the survival comes with strings. She accepts Hairlock. She's pulled into the bridge burner's orbit, and she holds suspicion she can't safely voice. And that's the moral trap. You can't survive clean. Survival forces you to collaborate with systems you don't fully trust. Even silence becomes participation. Even not accusing becomes a choice. In Malazan, surviving doesn't make you innocent. It just makes you involved. Next, gods enter the game. no longer background forces. Chapter 1 introduced us to gods as players through shadow. Chapter 2 confirms the bigger shift. Gods aren't distant mythology. They're active pressure on the board. The deck of dragons is almost like a receipt. The universe itself is reacting. Roles are being assigned, and pieces are being moved. Once the deck starts speaking clearly, the human war stops being the whole story. And now for a big picture takeaway. Chapter 2 fundamentally reorients the story. Up to now, Gardens of the Moon can still look like a conquest narrative. An empire expanding, armies clashing, and cities changing hands. Chapter 2 quietly pulls the rug out from under that expectation. It goes from conquest to manipulation. Pale isn't taken because the empire outfought its enemies. It falls because alliances were withdrawn, pressure was applied in the right place, and consequences were allowed to unfold. Victory comes not from strength, but from positioning. The real action happens offstage, in planning tents, in political calculations, and in decisions about who is allowed to die. Nobody wins Pale. Pale is spent. The chapter goes from strategy to survival. The chapter shows that even the best plans collapse under real power. Tayshiren's strategy doesn't control the battlefield. Dujak's authority doesn't protect his people. And Tattersall doesn't survive because of foresight or preparation. She survives because someone else chose her life, and she happens to be in the right place. Survival replaces victory as the real metric of success. We go from armies to pieces. Armies stop feeling like protagonists. Units become assets, liabilities, and expendable tools. Individual people suddenly matter more. Tattersall, Hairlock, and the Bridge Burners. Not because they're heroes, but because they've been moved into dangerous positions. The deck of dragons makes this explicit. Roles exist, assignments are being made, and the game is no longer abstract. The war stops being about sides and starts being about placement. Pale isn't just a battlefield. Pale is where elder power brushes against mortal ambition. Imperial pragmatism shows its teeth, and human lives become secondary to leverage. It demonstrates what happens when control meets something it can't dominate and decides to adapt instead of retreat. It's a warning to the characters. No one is indispensable. Survival comes with costs, and a warning to the reader. This story will not reward clean victories or simple moral accounting, and a warning to the empire itself that even careful manipulation creates forces it can't fully predict. And to end this video, we're going to talk about some big board pieces that were introduced or repositioned in this chapter. We meet Tattersall, a survivor with knowledge. She survives an impossible magical engagement, loses her lover Callot and much of her faith in imperial intent. She gains Hairlock literally in her possession, proximity to the Bridge Burners, and exposure to the deck of dragons at a critical moment. She leaves chapter 2 alive, compromised, and no longer neutral. She's left into a position as a witness who cannot unsee what she's learned. We meet Hairlock, the unbound wild card. He begins as a cadre mage and ends the chapter as a soul bound into a wooden puppet, psychologically unhinged and aware of elder forces and gods in play. He's no longer constrained by a mortal body, a military hierarchy, or fear. His position is a destabilized agent with incomplete loyalties. We meet Animander Rake, the untouchable force. In this chapter, he's never directly confronted or clearly seen, yet he dominates the entire chapter. His present reframes the scale of the war. Malazan power is not absolute, and elder power operates on different terms. Moonspawn withdraws by choice, not defeat. An Animander is left in a position as a ceiling on imperial ambition. We once again see Whiskey Jack, the veteran who survived the Purge. He appears with the remnants of the bridge burners. He's calm, controlled, and deeply suspicious. The losses suffered at Pale confirmed what he's already suspected. The old guard is expendable. No open rebellion yet, and Whiskey Jack is in a position of a loyalist who knows loyalty is dangerous. We meet Quick Ben. He performs forbidden soul shifting without hesitation, and knows more about magic than he admits, and how dangerous Hairlock truly is. He facilitates Tattersail's deeper entanglement, and is put in a position of a fixer who plays long games. We meet Kalam. He says little, observes everything, and his presence reinforces that the bridge burners are not just soldiers. He's in a position of muscle with intent and patience. And we once again see Sari, the planted pawn. Appears briefly but critically, already positioned inside the Malazan army, and is present at Pale without explanation. Her position is a piece placed earlier, but now quietly advancing. We meet Tashrin, the suspected hand. Fully introduced here through the planning flashback. He takes control of the assault immediately, and emerges as a possibility, not a confirmed villain. He had power, position, and maybe motive. Tattersail does not accuse, but she no longer trusts him. He's put in a position as a shadow over Imperial command. We meet Dujek One Arm, the loyal commander under pressure. He's present in the planning and not control over the magical strategy. He appears caught between Imperial authority and veteran loyalty. We learn about Apan. The twins officially enter the narrative via the Deck of Dragons. Not subtle, not distant, and the spinning coin confirms chance is now active and control is slipping from all sides. We learn about the Deck of Dragons, the board itself. They move from the background lore to an active instrument and responds violently to current events. It confirms that gods are moving and alignments are shifting, and the Deck of Dragons are a lens through which the game is now visible. And we see Pale. It begins the chapter standing and ends burning. It was never the true target and serves as proof of the cost of imperial ambition and the scale of elder power. It is a warning written in ash. And yeah, that's all I really have to talk about chapter 2. I really love this chapter, and it was one of my favorite ones to read during this book. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. And thank you so much for listening, and I will see you in the next episode. Thank you.